we go. Reshare. Okay, just so for the purposes of the recording, welcome to our June 2025 DSL network recording. I'm going to hand over to Liz, who's going to give us our first presentation from Ivison Trust.
Thank you so much, Kat. I will just say at the beginning, Kat, if our voice recording slide doesn't work, I've got it loaded, ready to share.
That's fine. It should work. I've got it on as a recording, but we'll have, let's have a go.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having us today. I do recognise a couple of names on the chat of DSLs that we've worked with before. So first of all, my name is Liz Garley and I'm a Parent Liaison Officer at the Ivison Trust, and we support parents whose children are at risk of child exploitation, be that criminal or sexual exploitation. So if we just pop to the first slide, and I'll just give you a little bit of history as to how the charity was founded. So the lady on the left-hand side of your screen is Irene Ivison, hence the name Ivison Trust, and she was mother to Fiona, who is shown in the picture on your right. And at the age of 14, Irene started to recognise huge changes in Fiona's personality, things she was doing, people that she was hanging around with. She was really frightened, and it transpired through a lot of resilience and hard work from Irene that her daughter was being sexually and criminally exploited. Irene went to school, went to police, went to social care, trying to get help and recognition at what was happening to her daughter, and basically felt like she was knocking her head against a brick wall, and people were recognising Fiona's behaviour as promiscuous, that she was a young criminal, that she was a young prostitute. And this went on for 3 years, resulting eventually in the tragic death of Fiona, and she was sadly found dead. And Irene had to find out about her daughter's death by reading it in the newspaper. Nobody was working with her, nobody was helping her, and the only person that was prosecuted for the crimes against Fiona was the person who killed her, and not the 30 people that were actually found to have groomed her and abused her over the 3 years. So after this, Irene recognised a massive gap, that parents aren't being supported and that exploitation isn't being recognised, and the charity was founded and built up to what it is today. So I'll just go to the next slide and tell you a little bit more about our values. So we look at empowering parents, and we do that through awareness raising and looking at what exploitation actually is, because the chances are that when parents do kind of find themselves in this situation, they know nothing about what is happening to their child. They can feel really lonely, not want to share their experiences with friends and family because they can feel shame. And it's about us empowering them to realise that this is happening to them and to their child, and that there are people to support that. We make parents feel included in the child in need plan or the child protection plan, so that they can be safe and feel that something is being done to help the situation. And we work alongside parents so that they don't feel that they are kind of being spoken at, that they are made to feel that they are embedded in helping their child, and that we value their information and intelligence and support, because they are the key people in safeguarding their children. So we'll just go on to the next one to look at what we do in more detail. So we work alongside parents and carers of children who are at risk of being sexually or criminally exploited by perpetrators external to the family. So we wouldn't get involved where there is harm inside the home or where the parents are involved in the exploitation. We offer guidance and training to professionals and families on how child exploitation affects the whole family. So we've done quite a bit of work with schools in North Yorkshire, with parents, with social care, with police, in looking at how we work with families and how that makes families provide more intelligence and more information around what is happening to their child. Just pop to the next slide. So this is our trust. We've got co-located parent liaison officers, which is people like myself, and we have those in North Yorkshire, Wakefield, Kirklees, Bradford, Calderdale and Liverpool at the moment. And we will work with children where they are classed as medium or high risk of exploitation. If we have any early intervention work or low risk cases, we still ask for referrals for those, and we would signpost parents to our awareness sessions, which are run 4 times a year online. And we've got various webinars, and we can offer kind of one-off support sessions to those parents to be able to kind of step in there before it gets to medium risk. So I would always say, even if you've got something that you don't think is medium or high, please still liaise with us and see what we can offer, because there will always be something. We've got our volunteer service, which runs on a Friday and Saturday evening, because we recognised that there was a gap and that exploitation doesn't end at 4:30 when sadly most services finish work. So we offer a crisis support line where parents can phone in, or we can offer a check-in call with our parents over the weekend, and this has been really well received by parents in crisis. We've also got a therapeutic counselling service offer as part of Ivison Trust, and we are able to refer into one of our own therapeutic counsellors so that we don't have a long waiting list. And generally our parents are so in need of that healing support and that counselling when they are in the thick of exploitation, and we found this just so invaluable in dealing with the trauma that the parents are experiencing. We've got the online parent forum where our parents can log on and kind of explain what they are experiencing at the moment, and they can liaise with other parents that are experiencing similar and get that support from lived experience parents. And we also have a spotlight professional on the forum every few weeks, be that a solicitor, a police officer, a social care worker, kind of people that are involved in exploitation, for parents to kind of ask them direct questions around their job and their work, and explain to those professionals how it feels as parents to kind of improve that support. We've also got the training strand, so we have free training available to professionals, and we also have paid accredited training with our lead professionals in exploitation, and that can all be looked at on our website. The crisis line just links back to the volunteer service on a Friday and Saturday evening, and the parent action group is parents that want to continue to work with the Ivison Trust after they've had the support, because they want to give back and they want to help in the training to parents to better the service and better the understanding of exploitation. So these conferences pop up all over the country, and we will support our lived experience parents in speaking to professionals and answering questions around what their experience was and where they are now. So if you ever see those popping up, they are really, really interesting, and we get really good feedback on those events. Next slide, please, Kat. Thank you so much. So the PLO support looks at being trauma informed to our parents, and recognising the things that might be triggers for them and their children, and trying to bridge those gaps between professionals and the family. We offer advocacy and liaison, so things like the child in need meetings and the child protection meetings where a parent can feel quite overwhelmed, having not been in this world before. We will sit beside them, we can be their voice, we can be their ears, and there's times that after a meeting a parent might say, I don't understand anything that's just been said to me, and we're able to kind of talk through that and have kind of briefings before the meeting and afterwards to talk about what they want to raise but might not feel able to ask those questions, and that's where we can be there again, their voice and ears at these meetings. We offer emotional support, so we'll have regular check-ins depending on what the parent wants from us, and that can just be a telephone conversation for them to offload their week, their day, their hour, and what they're going through, and be able to talk it through for us to be able to offer advice on coping strategies, on things that might make them feel more able to manage the situation. We facilitate intelligence to the police and to social services. So if a parent doesn't feel able to provide that intelligence, they can feed that to us and we can pass it through to police. But what we would be encouraging is for parents to be able to eventually do that for themselves, so that they can manage ultimately without our support eventually. So we're kind of holding their hands ready for them to be able to walk alone. It was recognised last year that we were the charity that submitted the most intelligence to the police around exploitation, which just kind of recognises the relationship that we build with families and the information that we're able to encourage them to look for and provide to services. So we increase the parents' knowledge and understanding of exploitation so that they are able to recognise the signs and indicators and look for that life litter, be it bus tickets, takeaway tickets, telephone numbers, burner phones, everything that they might be seeing that they are not acknowledging as exploitation signs and indicators. We're able to raise their awareness of what they are seeing. We offer the support for the trauma, and we do that through our sessions, our support sessions, and also our counselling service. And we work proactively to secure justice for families. So we will support throughout police investigations. We'll then support through supporting the family at court, looking at any special measures that need to be in place, and basically being there for the family from start to finish, and making sure that the family feel that there's an accurate representation for themselves, and that they've got the solicitor and that they've got the people to look after them when it comes to having to face things like a trial and seeing the perpetrators. Next slide, please, Kat. So we look at the relational safeguarding model, and this is a model that we base our training around. We look at the triangle because it's the strongest shape, and we look at the top of the triangle as being the parents and recognising that parents need to be part of this plan, and that they are the key part of the plan because they know their child the best, and they can then recognise the child's needs and the needs of the parent, and what we can do to support them throughout the exploitation. We then look at formulating safeguarding plans that they feel that they will be able to stick to and that are realistic for them, and recognise that this needs to include focusing on what is happening when they leave the home and not looking at parents' discipline and boundaries that they're putting in place, because the harm that is happening to their child is contextual. So we need to be looking at the takeaways that they are frequenting, the houses that they go into, the children that they are with, and recognising to parents that the child protection plan or the child in need plan is not focused on what they are not doing as parents, and that this is a plan that needs their support and not judgment of the family. We then look at the final side of the triangle as the offenders side. So we look at disruptions, locations, what can be done to prevent the children from frequenting in certain areas, put in things like child exploitation warning notices in place, encouraging parents to report the children missing to disrupt the exploitation. And it's interesting, a lot of parents will say to me, how does this eventually end? What can we actually do to stop this? And one of the major things I say is we need to disrupt what is happening on a daily basis. And when you explain it to parents that then reporting their children missing, reporting the places and spaces that they are frequenting and the names and cars and various intelligence that they are seeing, this is all disruption. And by being persistent, we make their child too hot to handle. And just by using those words and making parents see why they are doing something, they can see light, they can feel like they are part of a plan, and it becomes clearer as to what they need to do to safeguard their child. Next slide, Kat. Thank you. So we look at the impact of exploitation on the family, and we recognise that to families, to schools, to employers, that exploitation will have an impact on mental and physical health. This can be of the child and of the parent, and I will get a lot of parents saying to me, I feel so embarrassed that I can't go to work, I'm not physically fit to go, the trauma of what I'm going through is making me so poorly. And it's about recognising that trauma has physical impact on your body and your mental health, and supporting them in going to the doctors, in seeking help, in speaking to their employers and explaining what they are going through and what that looks like and feels like for them. They can feel a breakdown in family relationships. Sometimes that can be in the immediate home where maybe mum and dad aren't agreeing with how they are responding to the exploitation. Maybe one of the parents accepts that they're being exploited and one doesn't. And it can also look at the fact that our parents don't want to have those conversations with their relatives because they are embarrassed to say what is happening to grandparents, to aunties, to uncles, because they won't understand. They can isolate themselves from wider family because they feel that it's easier to do than to let them into what's going on. We find that a large majority of our children are hit and miss as to whether they are attending school, and that can be because they've been up all night, because they've been missing, because they've been taking drugs, and the impact of that is that they feel ill the next day. They then get to the point where they've missed that much school that it feels so uncomfortable to go to school because they don't know what they're doing. So the educational outcomes can be really, really tricky, because once a child has been out of education for a significant time, it just becomes harder to encourage them to want to reintegrate. So the work and employment post, again, I've sort of touched on that. We can liaise with employers, and they can also do our awareness sessions in understanding the impact on families when their child is being exploited. Sleep deprivation absolutely speaks for itself. Our parents and children will be sleep deprived. I had a family who had to report their child missing every night for 8 weeks, and that is sitting on 101 until you get through to the police, then reporting the child missing, and then when they come home in the early hours, you then need to make that call again, and then the police will come out and do that return home interview, and that is a full night basically of no sleep. So then to be able to hold down those like regular days with other siblings and taking them to school and going to work can be really, really difficult. So it's about recognising this is a massive impact on a family unit. Next slide, please, Kat. We focus really heavily on understanding trauma, both in parents understanding their own trauma responses and how they may be reacting to situations, but also in recognising the trauma response that they're seeing from their child. And that can be huge, massive kick-offs, throwing things around, damaging things in the home, and can look really explosive, to seeing your child being really introvert, not wanting to eat, wanting to spend the time in the room all the time, not going to school, not speaking. And we have awareness sessions that we do both one-to-one with our parents, or we have the online awareness sessions for parents and professionals to attend. And that focuses on our window of tolerance, the things that we can and can't control, and we will look at that and we'll re-look at it through our journey of supporting a parent, because things are so hard to see clearly when you are running on your trauma responses, and our trauma responses become even bigger when we're sleep deprived, when we're worried, when we are anxious about what's happening to our child. So we focus really heavily on encouraging other professionals to recognise trauma and responding in a trauma-informed practice. Thank you. This is just a little bit of a kind of a footnote for you to have a look at, and this is, if you go onto our website, this is the Children and Young People Project 2014 to 2017, and it looks as parents as partners, and gives you a relational safeguarding overview of how the model works, the impact that it has, and how it empowers parents. So it's just something for you to kind of write down and look at your leisure. Next one. Is this working, Kat, from your end? Can you see? Perfect, thank you.
With services, I was sharing, when it first all started, I was sharing who she was hanging around with, who she was being seen with, people that were calling at the door, people that were seen outside the house. Suspicions that I had about certain people and concerns, places, locations that she was going to, things that I was finding on devices in the house, if I was finding messages or finding emails, because I was trying to keep an eye on her. So anything that was sort of flagging up or coming across as a warning, I was notifying them of them. In particular, in my situation, it was a couple of people that were standing out, that seemed to be heavily involved in some suspicious things going on. And I was giving names, giving times, dates, locations. I was telling them when she was leaving the house, when she was returning home, a lot of things like that.
I shared information about the times that she went missing, people that she met. I shared every single thing that happened that I felt indicated that she was involved or on the edge of being involved in CSE things. So I every time something happened, I'd email. I gave telephone numbers, addresses. I used to have a secret code book where I recorded, I found it the other day, I recorded every single bit of information from Facebook, pictures. I shared everything.
The initial response from the agencies when I tried to tell them about what was going on with my daughter was, right from the beginning, it felt as if that they couldn't hear what I was saying. They were not interested in my daughter's change of behaviour. They were only interested in what I was doing to make her behave that way. They just did not care that what was happening to my daughter. They were far more concerned in what have you done that's made your daughter behave this way.
In the beginning, they were dismissive of what I said, and I gave me the impression that they thought I could do a better job. But then I got PACE involved, and they listened a little bit more. However, when I shared a letter that PACE had written, particularly to the police, which set out what they could have done on some of the information, I think it was unbelievably shocking. They just looked at it and sort of threw it on the table and they said, we've done all this. And I said, but you haven't. So it was, but then as time went on and things got more and more serious, and we had all the perhaps more dramatic stuff of ambulances being called and goodness knows what, I think they did take more notice, but still, I don't think they really read my little book. I don't think it was taken on board. And if it was then the blaming culture at that time. It was not easy.
At the very start, it came across as it was more me being an over-paranoid mother, overprotective. There were issues where she would go missing, and I would be able to see through an iPhone tracker exactly where she was, and I was passing that information on, but they weren't acting on it. And several times while she was recording missing, I would say, this is the address where her phone is, this is where she is. And I was found out later that they would attend that address maybe 12, 14 hours later. By that time, she'd moved on. They could have acted on this information a lot sooner and stopped some things happening before they happened.
She would often give false addresses, so it wasn't always easy for them. But I would say that they were persistent. However, at the youth police officers level, I think that they were sometimes dismissive. They did put up a camera on one occasion when I said that she had been in a certain place. And then they said they couldn't get any evidence, and perhaps I was, they made me feel like I'd made it up. Other than the harbouring notice, nobody was prosecuted. No.
At the start of the situation, there was an active prosecution. 2 men were arrested, charged, and subsequently sentenced. That went well, and we were respected and really treated respectfully by the police and by other agencies. After that prosecution had happened, and then my daughter went slowly down the wormhole into more CSE and more exploitative things happening, and the respect seemed to drop away, and it started to switch from this being a crime that had been committed against my child and the whole family being affected by it, towards more, what have you done as a family to make your child do these behaviours? As time went on, it became more a focus on, it's my child's behaviour that's the problem, and that it's her own fault. She's a problem child. She's causing issues. It obviously comes from a lack of boundaries, a lack of strict parenting. And it almost feels like sometimes they're not looking at the actual perpetrators. They're looking at the victim, at the victim's families, and not seeing them as victims anymore.
Yeah, I can't lie. This is a really hard thing to talk about, because when I think about what action did they take to stop the perpetrators, any destructive actions, was anyone prosecuted, how my child might have been treated by the police, they did nothing. Nothing. To this day, they didn't do anything, man. I'm not saying that they weren't active in trying to do something. I'm not an idiot, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that there was no activity around it, When I sat in those MACE meetings, and the different agencies which were around the table, when I think back to the fact that my daughter used to get dropped off at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd relate this to the police, and I can remember the police saying to me in one of the MACE meetings that, we know who these people are, but there's nothing we can do because we need to get more, we need to have more so we can prove that they're actually doing anything. I've never once had a visit or a phone call from a police officer or anyone to say that we've made an arrest or, just nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
I think she had a youth worker who subsequently, a youth police officer, who my daughter subsequently told me ran me down quite a bit. Yeah, I would describe the PACE model, that relational model, to have been a godsend for me. It was the first, I'll tell you, the first time I actually felt heard, people understood about the parents' perspective around CSE, giving me handy ideas and ways of approaching, particularly the youth police officer I was having a hard time with, in the school, and the social worker. And it was another person who was able to come alongside me. But when PACE got involved with their expertise, I felt, for once, I was listening to, I was sobbed at the time. And even now, when I think back, it makes me feel both grateful, but also takes me back a bit to feeling vulnerable and just being exasperated in the way I was being treated so disrespectfully. And the night, I won't revisit it all in detail, but like those endless nights of looking for her, sleeplessness, keeping a book, going in parks in the dark, and then being told I wasn't keeping my daughter safe, and if I only did but paint her room a different shade, she'd stay in. I'll never forget that. So in terms of the relational model that PACE used, I thought I could not fault them. It was outstanding.
Working with PACE and PACE's approach to it definitely makes a big difference. So many aspects of it that I feel if they were applied earlier in our situation would have made a difference. It almost feels, especially in our case, that the family was excluded, and it almost feels like you're on the outside of the situation. Whereas on the very few occasions when a professional would actually sit down with the family or with myself and ask for our opinion and our insights into it, it actually helped, because if there were certain things that I knew or the information that I could give. And with the model that PACE uses, I just feel that it's working together as a team.
I can't help but get a little bit choked up when I talk about PACE. PACE literally at that point, saved my life. I had nobody. It's really, really hard to paint a picture as a parent going through this. Right up until the point of PACE getting involved, I was waiting for them to help me. I was waiting for them to almost kick into action, if you want to say it like that. But once PACE got involved, I suddenly realised how unsupported I had been by statutory services completely. And the worst offenders of all of them had to be social care and health. They were going out of their way to find flaws in my parenting. I wasn't the enemy, I wasn't the enemy here. I wasn't doing this to my daughter. My daughter what was happening to her was happening to her. And they never spoke about that to me. All they ever spoke about was coming to me talking about boundaries. Have you drawn up the correct boundaries? I've raised this kid since she was 1 year old. PACE's approach was simple. They were on the side of the parents, and they understood that what was happening to the child isn't something that the parents are in control of, and actually the parents are suffering as well, because we're in the dark. We don't know. I really do think that I think that PACE, with the intervention that they had, was completely. It turned everything around, and I suddenly didn't feel like. I didn't feel like it was my fault. What's happening to my daughter is not my fault. She is being hurt. Someone out there is hurting my kid.
In my case, I think that the agencies, in terms of working together, were a bit divided. Well, yeah, I think they were divided. So the meetings were quite fraught at times, and in a way that just mirrored what happened for my daughter and I. Those meetings were not pleasant. They were often full of conflict, and it was very hard to get my view over. Sometimes I just thought, I can't be bothered to speak to this social worker because she's so rude and offensive to me. I just can't be doing with her. So all that would get unpacked in meetings. I don't know if they collaborated well. I think they just mirrored what my daughter and I were trying to do, which was muddle through. It impacted on my health. And I lost all faith in social services for whom I work, children's services for whom I work. And I thought, do these social workers have any idea how they make a parent feel?
I think that
I'm happy to move on to the
about
next
whether or not
slide.
the
So I think we've had a
agencies
really
work
good overview of our parents. Thank you. Thank you so much. So just to, in a nutshell, look at kind of what the parents were talking about in that video. I have put in the chat PACE, as they were talking about, that is Ivison Trust. So Ivison Trust was rebranded to about 18 months ago to recognise Irene Ivison as the founder. But it just kind of gives you an understanding that it's really important that parents feel part of the plan and that we have empathy as professionals. And I don't think it's about attacking various services. I think it's just sometimes about recognising that this is how a parent feels, and whether we're meant to make her feel like that or not, this is how they feel. And just being really mindful of how things can come across. And if it has come across wrong, to recognise it and just to kind of acknowledge it. And I just think it makes a massive difference to how our parents feel. So in empowering parents, we've talked about a little bit of this in previous slides. We encourage our parents to look for life litter, which is things like bus tickets, train tickets, taxi information, takeaways that they're visiting, bank statements that might show money going in, money going out, the people that it's going to, and all of this can be kind of worked on by police and build a bigger picture. We encourage co-created risk assessments, so looking at what everybody can do, what school can do, what social care can do, what maybe drugs and alcohol workers can do, what we can do to safeguard and help to safeguard the child. We look at putting the safety plans in place, and they will be reviewed on a regular basis because things change so quickly. It's really important to keep looking at those safety plans and making sure that the parent still feels that it's relevant to their child. And also to keep communicating and to encourage our parents to keep communicating with their child and not giving up and not thinking there's nothing else that they can do because the child is being abusive towards them, they are not speaking to them. We just encourage constantly, just go back and talk to them, try again. And in talking to us, they might build that resilience to be able to go back and try again with their child. Just on to the next slide, which just looks at a case study. So this is the information that we've got through working with a parent. So Sam was missing 3 times, reported missing 3 times. Sam was picked up outside town at 2 a.m, distressed at a garage. Information found on receipts shows that Sam was at the chicken shack at 11:30 earlier that night. CCTV obtained from the shop outside showed 2 adults were identified as being with Sam and a car registration was provided. There's been a number of concerns raised about activities at the chicken shack, vulnerable young people linked, and antisocial behaviours and suspicions of drug dealing and sexual exploitation reported. Sam has a number of superficial but painful injuries. They look like knife wounds and are mainly around the top of his thigh and bruising at the top of their arms. Sam has been found with a zombie apocalypse style knife and a machete, says it's for his protection. There has been a work contract found with Sam's name on it. Sam was found to have snapbags and jeweller scales in his possession, along with a paper with weights and measures written. Sam has been found with a number of stolen items, including a mountain bike and sportswear. Sam's found with a bank card in someone else's name, and the name was checked out was another vulnerable child. Sam has been linked to a number of OCG members. Sam has been identified in the background of a video posted on social media that police were investigating for inciting violence. A number of faces in the recording were known members of a gang. So the previous two slides of information showed all the information that the parent was able to provide to services. And then this final slide shows what we would have if we were only able to look at the police system, and it would be that Sam was reported missing 3 times. And we feel that this is just really powerful in explaining to schools, to parents, to professionals, the value of the information that parents are providing. Because if we didn't have that bigger picture, the work that is able to be done by social services and police wouldn't be able to be done. The parents' information is invaluable, and to be able to get that information, they need to feel valued by services. So it's just about looking at that and seeing it in front of you. This is the only line of information that we would have, as opposed to the barrage of information that we have on the previous 2 slides. Next slide. This is how we take our referrals. So if you want to, I don't know, take a picture or write down the email addresses here, and we would value your questions. If you've just got a parent that you are worried about, we can chat about what's happening. I'll pop my telephone number in the chat as well if you want to just keep a note of it. Any questions that you've got about referrals or a family that you are working with, we're always kind of available to answer those questions and direct you to the right place. I'll just pop that, Liz Garley. I think that brings us to the end of our slides. Kat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that's such a lot of information to listen to without having those kind of questions and answers throughout. But like I say, if there's anything that we can help with, there's lots of information on our website, lots of information about webinars. We are just starting some work directly with schools, working with parents and children, which is kind of the first time that Ivison Trust have worked directly with children. But if you want to inquire about that, please do get in touch. Please send us a message and we can chat to you about that. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Liz. That was a great session. And there was just one quick question that came up in the chat asking whether parents can self-refer.
Yes, so they can. On our website, if you direct a parent to our website, there is a self-referral form on there. What I would say, if you've got a child that you are concerned about that has a social worker involved already, then it'd be a really good idea to kind of go to the social worker, and it might be that one specific social worker hasn't heard of us and what we do. And the reason that I say it's important for the information to come through a social worker is I feel like it's more trauma informed, because for a parent to have to explain on the form what they're going through can be kind of so triggering for them. But just for the social worker to pass us that information, we can then phone the parent and they don't have to go through all of the situation from start to finish. If they don't have a social worker, then absolutely, they can go to the self-referral, they pop the telephone number in and they would get a call from either myself or my colleague. Right, I hope that answers your question.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kat. Sorry for overrun.
No, you're fine, don't worry. We're going to move on to Heidi, but I'm not sure. Heidi, are you with us? Oh, just let her in. Talk about timing. Welcome, Heidi. You all right?
Good, thank you.
So you timed that to perfection. I was just going as Heidi joined and she's just there with us. I'll stop sharing and give the screen over to you, Heidi, if that's all right. I've just made you presenter.
Yeah, that's perfect. Lovely. Thank you, Kat. Just bear with me, everybody. I will find the right. Great, lovely. Are you all right for me to start, Kat?
Yeah, that's fine. Ready when you are.
Lovely. Okay. Just a quick introduction. My name's Sergeant Heidi Lewis. I work for North Yorkshire Police in our local policing support department, and I have now for the last 6 years. Quite frightening how fast time goes. Line managed the school liaison team. So I've currently got a team of 5 PCs and 6 PCSOs that are spread across the county. I wish I could have twice that number, but unfortunately I can't. And these next 5-10 minutes are just to give you a whistle-stop tour of what the team can offer if you're not already aware of them. And then I'll just highlight 2 particular intervention programs that we run that might be of interest to you. So as school liaison officers for North Yorkshire Police, or child-centred policing officers, as they're now more generally called around the country, we follow the National Police Chiefs Council strategy for child-centred policing. Oh, and what they try and get the police to focus on is that we use every interaction as an intervention as well as an opportunity for young people, and that our engagement should be positive, and that we should seek opportunities to enhance that relationship with them, but also that we as the police support evidence-based practice in keeping children and young people out of the criminal justice system, which not as much now, but in previous times was quite difficult for the police to get involved with. However, for example, our knife crime intervention work, Optivan, that was introduced back in 2018, was sort of the start of that evidence-based policing practice, and trying to embed it, but I'll go into that a little bit later. So just in summary for you, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an oversight as to all of the different subject matter that the SLOs can help with. So, for example, one punch awareness, we've got a really good assembly in relation to one punch and serious violence, but we'll also use it as a one-to-one when there's been instances in school of violent assaults that haven't been either reported to the police because you've been able to deal with them within school, or where the decision has been made that an out-of-court disposal or an educational outcome is appropriate, and that goes for a variety of different crimes as well. We'll help with mental health and vulnerability, where people through their poor mental health and vulnerability are putting themselves at risk, be that online or the relationships that they're having. Quite happy to speak to people about those and where they link in with child sexual and child criminal exploitation as well, which leads on to sexual abuse. And that whole links in again with sexting, the sharing, making, taking of youth-produced sexual imagery online. It's all interlinked. However, the team as a whole will offer that education and guidance, and can signpost also to victim support, and also appropriate mentoring services or buddy services that young people may wish to engage with to help them further through that. Domestic abuse as DSLs, the vast majority of you will be getting our Op Encompass notifications that come through from our safeguarding team in relation to domestic abuse incidents where young people have either been present or witnessed to. The SLOs will receive those notifications as well. We won't action every single one of them. We will read them, and if we feel that there is an opportunity for us to engage further with a young person, we'll contact you. Or on the other hand, if you ever feel that we can add more value to you helping that child or safeguarding, then please get in touch. One example of that is that we will go in and we will do some victim safety planning with that young person. It's just a very simple document that we go through who is their safe places, who's their trusted adult that they can speak to, what would the process be if they had to call the police, just to give them those tools to equip them to keep themselves safe should they be in that situation at home. We would keep a copy and put it on our records, but we would also be very willing to share that with the DSL to keep on the child's record at school so that you can revisit it with them. Hate crime, we work really well and very closely with Restorative Solutions, who offer a hate crime awareness course, and most recently have also introduced a violent crime awareness course as part of their referral process. So we link in with them as well. Drug and alcohol abuse, we'll always advocate the use of the Drink Drug Hub for resources and advice, not just for teachers, professionals and parents, but also for young people themselves. However, we offer, in relation to drugs, we will offer our op choice process, which I'll go into in a moment. Missing young people and child criminal exploitation, all of the SLOs sit on the MACE meetings whenever they can, so we are aware of those individuals that are being referred into the MACE arena. Because we have a missing and exploitation team within North Yorkshire who are specialists to work with young people who are being raised at MACE, the SLOs will primarily only engage with those that are low risk and potentially try to stop them from escalating. So even if you have a young person that you're concerned about their potential exploitation, and they're not within the MACE arena yet, or you haven't referred them in, they haven't had that assessment, please get in touch, because we'll be more than happy to sit down with them and talk through the risky behaviours, and just hopefully help them. So this school year, what we've started to introduce, and it's early doors yet, is specific one-to-one intervention work and small group in relation to misogyny and toxic masculinity. We did a piece of work with Vale of York School in York alongside Youth Justice, and from that we've created a resource that we'll either use as to do some group work, or we will use it for a one-to-one intervention as well. And we actually, on our record management system, will flag that young person as having had that intervention, so that if there is an escalation of those toxic behaviours, that we can deal with them appropriately. It's early doors yet, but the early interventions that we've done have been really positive. And what we're keen to look at is looking at the online misogyny and Vogue. It's one of the control strategy key points for North Yorkshire Police. So from a young person's point of view, if we can link in with them early doors in relation to that, then that would be really useful for us. So
Heidi, just a couple of questions in the chat before you move on.
Yeah, go
on.
on.
A couple of questions around some whole year group interventions based around the One Punch stuff. If that's available. Someone's asked about an age group. What age group is the misogyny one-to-one completed with? And is there any? Go on.
No.
Sorry.
No. Any age group.
Brilliant. And is there any assembly or class resources for the misogyny, or is there assembly resources?
So we've only got our own. We haven't actually got an assembly resource in itself. However, we've worked quite closely with a number of other agencies that have got those assembly resources. So it's on the Padlet cat, so under the misogyny tab on the Padlet, there is various different resources. Because I've only got 11 members of staff, getting around all the schools is virtually impossible. So we need an identified need. So if you have got a specific incident that has happened within a school or within a small group that we can link back to, that would be our priority at this time. In certain areas, if we can plan it ahead in advance, we will do certain year groups as well. But we need quite a bit of notice really to do that.
The link for the Padlet is in the chat, just a couple up, and that's a really good resource. I know Heidi will come to that in a minute.
Yeah, super. Right, next one along. So this just goes into a little bit more detail about how the SLOs can assist. I've already spoken about the low risk missing from home and that and the exploitation side of things. I've covered the domestic violence. We will also work with, and we do quite regularly work with, antisocial behaviour perpetrators, and that's those individuals that are engaging in antisocial behaviour, and a lot of the time it'll probably be us that come to you to ask for us to come and be able to deliver the work with them in school, and we will work with them before they are raised to our community safety hubs and neighbourhood policing teams to put antisocial behaviour contracts in place. So again, trying to get in there as early as possible. I don't know whether people are aware of the term community resolution disposals. Those are the lowest form of formal disposal that North Yorkshire Police will impose on a young person, and they are often used to make sure that a young person actually engages with an intervention. The restorative solutions, hate crime and violent crime work is often on the back of a CRD, and we will also, if a CRD is issued in relation to certain behaviours, we'll say to the officer in the case, if you put on there that they need to address their behaviour, and as part of that addressing their behaviour they have to engage with these sessions with the SLO, then that's a way of making them do it, basically. Drug and alcohol support, I'll go into op choice in a minute. Anger management, we're more than happy, and it forms part of that one punch work, more than happy to speak to young people around their anger management and then advise in relation to appropriate onward referrals. And then we work really closely with youth diversion and assist with referrals. And again, all of these referrals and our youth diversion partners are on the Padlet. Stepping Up project through North Yorkshire Sport, and then Change Direction through North Yorkshire Youth, which I'm sure you're all very much aware of. We'll also refer into the St Giles Trust with that child exploitation specificity, and then we've also got a number of other avenues that we explore in relation to diversionary activities. Again, all on the Padlet for you to access and read up on a little bit further. Just going to touch upon OpDivan, which again, if you've been a DSL for a while and you're actively engaged with your school liaison officer, you'll be aware of. OpDivan was introduced back in 2018, and it's aimed at young people who have been or are thinking of carrying knives and other weapons, and it's where the police or the school liaison team predominantly will offer a one-to-one educational session with a view to onward referral to other support services, just based on one piece of intelligence. I can't stress enough how supportive the schools have been in submitting that intelligence over the years. The use of our partnership information sharing form, which again is on the Padlet, and the willingness to share that information if you hear the chatter in school that a young person is carrying a knife or thinking of carrying a knife, or even making threats to use it, is enough for us to do an OpDivan with a young person. You know, we've got many a school now where they will if there's no aggravating circumstances around an individual's possession of a knife in school, they'll no longer report it officially to North Yorkshire Police, but will come through the school liaison team and request that OpDivan intervention if they feel it's an appropriate way of dealing with it, rather than going straight away through the punitive approach. However, that's very much dependent on whether there is any aggravating circumstances around it. And like I've said, the process covers all incidents involving knives, even in the home. So we will pick up from the op encompasses often whether a young person has picked up a knife in the home. And then offer an OpDivan on the back of that, because ordinarily we will not get a complaint from a parent against their own child. However, at least this way we can offer that positive, supportive approach in relation to them. One thing that I will mention, and I'm really happy to share, is that as we've been, so we track every single young person that's gone through the OpDivan process since its inception back in 2018. So we've got 6 to 7 years worth of data, and through the College of Policing and the University of Birmingham, we've just had the results back. on an independent evaluation where we've used the cohort in North Yorkshire and then compared their reoffending with a comparison cohort in a police force where they don't have Optivan, and the data, the evaluation that's come back, and it's statistical. I'm mixing up my words now. They're saying that they're statistically so significant that they can say it's, from a policing point of view, the most impactful early intervention and prevention model that's currently in place across the country in relation to knife crime. We're absolutely delighted. I mean, in the background, we've always known it works, because I look at the Optivan data on a monthly basis, and it's very few young people have come through more than once over the last 6 years. The headline figures we've got, we're just peer reviewing the evaluation before we can do a proper press release. So yeah, really excited to share that with everyone. But again, it's also down to schools being willing to share that with us and getting that intervention work done early and properly, which is invaluable. And then just to finish off, Operation Choice is similar model as Optivan, but it's in relation to drugs possession, where the young person who is found in possession of drugs enters into a course of police-led educational sessions, and then we will refer on to our drug service providers in Change, Grow, Live, and North Yorkshire Rise, and very much the emphasis is on education and harm reduction. I'm pleased to say that, similarly to Optivan, there are very few young people that will come through the process more than once. Op Choice, because it's all linked to harm reduction, is they're allowed to be within the Op Choice process for 2 years, which mirrors a youth conditional caution, allowing them that time if they have got troublesome use of drugs, allowing them that time to change their habit and do it properly, and which is fully supported by our drug service providers from an evidence-based point of view. So it's a real positive. It applies to any possession of any drug under the Misuse of Drugs Act, and if should a young person refuse consent or fail to engage in the process, then we'll go back to our traditional means of disposal so that they don't get lost at all. So, and then that's just the QR code to the Padlet, Cat. But if you've put it in the chat, then there's nothing more for me to say. The Padlet just gives a complete overview of what we offer, who the contact details are, but also resources from commissioned services and other trusted partners that we would, encourage schools to get in touch with, especially to do the wider whole school delivery and assembly delivery if we can't facilitate it.
Fabulous, thank you, Heidi.
You're very welcome.
I've just put a screen grab of that last slide into the chat because I think it'd be quite a useful thing to have printed off in your staff rooms, and it will take you straight to the QR, particularly when you're kind of on the spot and you're thinking, oh gosh, what was that number or what was that service again? The Padlet is a really great resource. We do have it on the partnership website as a direct link on our schools page, but it is just one to just kind of have in your belt when you need it, really. But yeah, huge thank you, Heidi, as always.
No, that's
you come
fine.
And give us such a good update.
I've just seen the message from the head teacher at Russup Primary School. If it ever happens again, sir, miss, then just drop myself an email. My details are on the Padlet and we'll deal with it. Absolutely fine.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Right,
speak to you later, Kat.
Thanks, Heidi. Our last slot, which will take us to 3:30. I think we've got Joe and Alicia on the call from CPOMS. Are you with us, Joe?
Yes, yeah, we're here.
Brilliant.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Are you able to present? I've made you a presenter, so that should hopefully give you a chance to share your slides.
Yeah, no problem. Just one moment. There we go. Can you see our slides now?
Not yet.
1 second. Share. 1 moment. There we go.
There we go. That's come up. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So, hi everybody. We'd like to welcome you to our little slot this afternoon. We're really happy to be here. My name's Jo, and I'm joined here by my colleague Alicia. Do you want to say hello?
Yeah, good afternoon everybody. My name's Alicia. Welcome to CPOMS this afternoon. I hope you find our slot beneficial. I just wanted to give you an overview about us really, and what we do. Okay, so myself and Jo between us, we've been in the education sector between us for 45 years, with 45 years experience, sorry. My experience being in primary and early years, and Jo's been as well. We're both familiar working with CPOMS, so once you get going with it, we know what it can do to its full potential. And we completely understand the needs and pressures to get things logged working in school, with the demand for child protection and safeguarding. So just a little bit about what CPOMS offers. So we are a local software company based in Skipton. Our baby is our student safe system. So this is where you log the incidents about students. And we also have the other products on offer as well. So we have CPOMS Staff Safe, and this is where you will log concerns or incidents about staff in your setting. We have another product called Insight, and this is something at a trust level where you can see all the different schools from a live view. And what's going on in them schools. And we also have CPOMS Engage as well. All these products and information are also available on our website if you want to delve more into what they are.
Okay, so we're going to share our demo site with you this afternoon. We're just going to have a little quick look at that, how it looks, how we monitor pupils within Student Safe, and we'll look a little bit about reporting. And we will signpost you to Knowledge Base so that if you did want to know any more information about our other products, you'll know where to find that. Okay, so let me just come back and share my demo site with you. 1 minute, we will get that up. Okay, so some of you I think will be using CPOMS already, some of you might not, but those of you who are will be familiar with this dashboard when you first log in. So we haven't got time this afternoon, it's quite a short little space we've got, but we would like to just talk to you about, you know, how CPOMS can be used to keep up to date with those vulnerable students, the ones susceptible to certain categories of concern, and that's through the monitoring element of Student Safe. Your categories in your own CPOMS setting system will be similar to mine, possibly on my demo site, but they might be a little bit different. You will have got those set up when you asked us to build your system. But what we can do really effectively with CPOMS Student Safe is look at the list of students who we've got concerns for currently. At the top here, underneath where it says Quick Student Search, we've got a box and it says monitored students. When I click on this box, monitored students, you can see it brings me up a list of all the students in my setting who are currently being monitored for certain categories. So as we scroll down, we can see which of our students have got some concerns currently logged for our setting. That is a full list of the students. In effect, if this is up to date and current, this can become your vulnerable student list. You wouldn't need it anywhere else as long as this is up to date and you're regularly going back and looking at your monitored students list. So that could be done in your regular safeguarding meetings. You would have a little look at your list and just double check these are the students that you're currently having concerns for. We can also look at this by group. So my system is set up for academic level, but we can look at it at a different level depending on what groups you've got. So if I wanted to look at my year 1 class, really quickly, I can click here and it's going to show me the students in year 1, and we can see very easily which of those students we're concerned about. The other thing we can do is, from the main dashboard, we can go down here and it will list your currently active categories. So we can look at students who are just being monitored for certain categories. I'm going to click on my child protection. And we'll be able to see that these are the students in my demo school here who have got something currently being monitored under child protection. It will show all the other categories of concern, but I know because my child protection category is that bright red one, you can see that all the students here have got a concern around child protection. We can also then drill down a little bit further on that data by using the little arrow on the left here. If I click there, it will open up my subcategories for child protection. So if I wanted to know of those students we're now seeing, which of them have got a CP plan? If we've got that subcategory, we can click on there, and that has narrowed down to the 5 students who are currently on a CP plan. So it's really important to keep this up to date, because if this is up to date, like I said, we can use it as a vulnerable student list, but it also will ensure that your reports are not skewed. For example, here we've got Erin Hill. She's in Form 11OX. We can see that she's currently being monitored for child protection with the CP plan in place. It could be that Erin in year 7 had a CP plan in place, but is now she's in year 11, OX has come off that CP plan. That might have happened when she was in year 8, year 9, etc. If that's not been updated and that period of monitoring hasn't been ended for Erin, it is going to show her as being one of those students who you're monitoring. So it's really, really good practice to be going in to your dashboard and having a look on a regular basis and ensuring that that monitoring is correct. The other place that we can look at monitoring is within the reporting overview on Student Safe. If we come to that, it's just whirring a minute. We can see here that I've got all my categories listed, and again, it's telling me how many students are currently monitored for certain categories. So if you're up to date with this, this chart here is also going to be relevant and accurate. Okay. You can update monitoring for students in bulk if you've never done this and you are a CPOMS Student Safe user. That will you'll be able to find that in knowledge base, which we're going to cover a little bit later. And what we're going to do also is I'll just show you very quickly within a student's profile how that monitoring can be used really effectively for strategic overview information. So I'm going to find one of my students. I'm going to search for Maddie Greenwood, who I know is on my vulnerable student list. We can see here she's got quite a lot of monitoring in place. If I go to her full profile, we can see there's tabs across the top, and one of those is monitoring history. If I click here, it's going to show me at the top a list of categories. Some of these have been opened for Maddie and she was monitored for them, but you can see they've been closed, and it will tell us how long that monitoring was in place. If it's open-ended like this one, domestic abuse there, she's still being monitored. This information also is collated in a chart below. So we've got categories down the left, months of the year across the bottom, and we can quickly, at a view, use this to see what's been going on in historically for Maddie. If I hover over it, will tell me how long that monitoring was in place. And also we can change the time scale just here at the top. So if I wanted to look at this over perhaps the last 18 months, we'll be able to see that quite quickly we can build up a picture of what's been happening for Maddie over the past 18 months. We can use this to have a look at any kind of correlation here. We would probably be thinking with our DSL hats on that this caused concern and home issues are quite possibly driving the behaviour that we're seeing here. So we can use this to put in place any interventions. If we've got referrals that need to be made, we can use this really effectively and we can download it as an image to add to any of those reports you've got. Okay, so that's really a quick overview of reporting. We could end the reporting just by, monitoring just by clicking here and choosing the date that we want that to be ended, and it will update again down here in the chart. So that's how you would do it for an individual student. We were just talking there about using that for referrals. We do also have an additional module on CPOMS Student Safe, which is called Premium Cases and Forms. Some of you might have seen this. We'll just quickly have a look at that because it might be of interest to some of you. Premium Cases and Forms is a module that you can use to escalate concerns and incidents into a case. So it helps you to streamline your workflows and keep all your related information together. So it's really great for capturing student wellbeing data across safeguarding. You can use it for pastoral care, welfare policies, etc. And you can set case types within your system. So if I look at my admin, just here on the left, and go down to cases, if I click there, it's going to show me a list of case types that I've got available to me. Here you can see there's some you do get by default, the top 5, I believe, but you can add your own. If I just click into one of these, the early help plan case type, you'll be able to see that there's already some ready built-in forms for you. So you've got certain forms that you might need to fill in for that early help referral. We can add case severities. We can have case statuses. And we can assign tasks and other things like that within each case. So if I quickly went back to my dashboard and I look at Jade Butler, for example, she's at the top of my list here. If I click on Jade's name, it will take me to Jade's profile. And we can see there's another tab at the top, cases. If I click on that, we can see that a case type has been logged for Jade, which is the abuse and neglect case type. If I quickly go to the case, we can see that certain staff members have been assigned this case. We've got some incidents that have occurred that have been popped into this case, which relate to grooming. We've got the reasons for that. We've got student voice forms, which has been assigned to a colleague to fill in, which will be here. We can update that as well. We can decide whether we have enough information to make any sort of referrals, any extra evidence, and we can set tasks and add any minutes. So as you can see, it's a really, really great way of pulling all that information together and managing those investigations to enhance your clarity and your decision making. If anybody's interested in Premium Cases and Forms a little bit more, we will be adding in the chat our email address for customer success. Please just drop us a message and we can show you that in a bit more detail. We also can report on Premium Cases and Forms here, and we have some little graphs which will show us at a quick glance which case types we've got and how many, the statuses and the severities on there. So it's a really great module. If I'd had this when I was working in school, and I'm sure Iris, you would agree, it would have really helped with that workload, and we know how hard you all work and anything that can help is good. So that's reporting for Premium Cases and Forms. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass over to Alicia, who's going to talk a little bit more just about general reporting for you.
Brilliant, thank you, Jo. Okay, so reporting it is quite broad on the CPOMS system. So again, it depends what you want to report on. So if you go into any safeguarding meetings or you just want to pull a report for an individual student, you can do that here on the left-hand side. So clicking into reporting, and then you want to go to custom report. So again, because it's so broad, it depends which report you want as to which drop down you select. So you can report on a student, report on incidents, or again, if you have cases informed, you can report on cases as well. So in this instance, I'm going to report on an incident. So you can when you report on a student, you can also click here by student, but I just want to view the incidents for today. So you put your dates in for the time frame that you want to see the report for. So putting in your dates. Putting in your dates. Again, if you want to see any active incidents, so that, again, that links to your monitoring, you can select that as well. So it really is about what you want to see on the report as to what information you select on the custom report. So if you reporting on the categories, so this is the incidents that you want to see. So for example, it could be that I just want to see behaviour incidents. You also have the subcategory section here. Again, depending on how your system is set up and what subcategories you have available, you can also select these to make the report more interesting, so you can see exactly what's going on. But for today, I am going to leave that with it being a demo site. You don't have to select the subcategories, you can just select the parent category here. Again, any agencies involved, if any incidents have been logged under these, you can also select and play about with that as well. Any body maps, again, depending on how the incidents have been logged as to what information falls under the maps there. You can also include linked students, so anyone that has been linked to that incident will also appear on the report as well. Going further down, your report type, so you can have this as a listing, a summary table, a summary chart, or a combined graph. You also have the option to hide student names and staff names. So again, if you are sharing this report and you want to keep the names of staff and students confidential, you can select that as well. Including in the report, so again, it all depends on what you want the report, how you want the report to look. So usually I would select student names and the incidents, but if you do want the other sections, you can include that as well. You can also redact words or phrases. So if it is a word or any phrases that you don't want to see, if you know which phrases or words that is, just type that here in the text box. Then you have report format, so you can report in different ways. So you've got inquiry view, you've got PDF, which is great if you want to print that and take to any meetings. And you also have an Excel spreadsheet where you can pull the information in there as well. Give it a title. And also, if this is a report that you want to generate and you want this to generate automatically, you can also make the report recur here. So if you select that and set up your date and times as to when you want the report to automatically run, it saves lots of time having to do this manually. So once you've selected all the information on your custom report that you want to see, click in the Save Report here. And I'm not going to save it just with it being a demo site, so I'm not sure what will come up. So going into your saved reports here on the left-hand side, it will bring up your report that you have just generated. So just because I didn't generate it won't bring it up. However, I will show you one that has been previously done. So let me see what is on this one. So here we have open incidents for certain individuals. You can also report on individuals and groups as well. So again, depending on how you run that report. Sorry, just the system's been quite slow. Here to the right hand side, you have an options menu. If you click down on the options and click regenerate, you can go into that report and regenerate that, and it just saves time rather than starting a whole new report again. Apologies, the system's been quite slow this afternoon.
It might be also that there's nothing in that report for the date range we put in.
Yeah. I just want to show you as well the useful report guides once there we go. Right, perfect. Okay, so that is a little bit about reporting. We also have a useful report guide. So here on the left hand side in our support tab, this falls under our knowledge base section. So everybody who has a CPOMS account has access to this. So clicking into our knowledge base, and it will give you lots of training videos on how to run reports and different reports that you can pull that we think may be useful for school settings as well. On other settings. I apologise for the slow system. In a second, let's go back out of that. There we go. Okay, so today we are looking at Student Safe. So if you click into Student Safe there and you scroll down, you have lots of videos for restricted users and elevated users as well. You've got the different tabs that you can click into and it will show you the different videos for that. There's also a tab here at the top for user guides and help sheets. So if you prefer a step-by-step guide on how to run reports, or again, like Joe said, on how to keep your monitored student list up to date, it will show you in this section as well. There we go. So you've got a full guide, a full user guide as an elevated user and a restricted user. Your reporting section here. This useful reports here I find really useful. I'll just show you the front of this.
I think our demo site's a bit tired.
Oh, there we go. Right, okay, so here we have a list of reports that we think may be of use to you as well. So again, reporting is so broad, so it is about playing with the system and seeing how to pull those reports in different ways. I'll just close that down for a second. Yep. Okay, I'm just going to hand back to Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alicia. As we were saying earlier, we do have other products available to you, and as Alicia showed you just now in our knowledge base area, there is loads of information within there if you're interested in any of those other systems. We have, like Alicia said, StaffSafe where you can log those concerns. You can also use StaffSafe for your SCR information. And CPOMS Engage, where we can share information if you have students on dual registration, or if your local authority is signed up with Engage, you can share information with them, which is really great use of your system. You may be using CPOMS Spotlight currently, but as we mentioned, I think a little bit earlier, we've got our exciting new Insight product coming soon. So watch this space. That is using Power BI, so it's going to be able to really drill down, like Alicia said, on your data strategically across the full trust. We also have within Knowledge Base a featured webinars area that I just wanted to have a look at with you. So on our featured webinars, we've got lots of third-party provider webinars down at the bottom here. So the NSPCC have done webinars with us. We've got all sorts, as you can see there, that are on demand for you. You can watch those. We know that you're all so busy. We've worked in school. We know you don't have hours sitting with your feet up eating biscuits, but you know, if you are interested in some of these areas, then these are here for you to look at. And again, we've got different tabs across the top. The other thing to point out is our Query Crunch webinars. We have Student Safe and Staff Safe Query Crunch. These webinars are run at different times of the day, different days of the week, and you can log into as many of those as you want to. You can submit questions which will be covered by the host of that webinar, which will be myself, Alicia, or one of our colleagues. So we get really good feedback. You get to hear questions from other settings that you might not have thought you needed the answer to, but you might suddenly find you did. So we would really recommend that you hop onto those Query Crunch webinars if you can. And we also have a great section on here, which is our NSPCC free resources. So have a little look in there. The NSPCC are adding their resources in there, which is really exciting. And again, you can see we've got frequently asked questions, and we've got any infrastructure upgrades will be logged in here also. Okay, so that's kind of a really quick run through of CPOMS for you this afternoon. If anyone has got any questions, you want to know any more about products, anything like that, we will put our email address into the chat there for you. Please just reach out. We're here to help, and I'll add our support line number as well in there for you. If you're not a CPOMS user and you want to come over, you know, we are the market leader within safeguarding. We'd be happy to give you a better and more full, sorry, not better, but fuller demonstration of any of our products. So thanks for listening to us this afternoon. We hope you have a really lovely evening. So bye from me.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jo and Alicia. We're just wrapping up. I know people want to be getting away for the end of the day. Just two very quick partnership updates from me. The first one is in relation to Safeguarding Week. This is next week. Please do share it amongst your staff teams. We've got sessions on there for community members and parents as well. So it is a really amazing resource. I think we've got well over 65 free sessions next week for people to access, covering a wide variety of safeguarding themes. And then I just wanted to kind of make DSLs and heads aware that our face-to-face DSL conference is scheduled for the 23rd of September. We will be aiming to release the bookings at the end of this week. We've got an amazing programme planned. It's going to have a sort of a health focus this year, but all of our usual kind of workshops, marketplace, and a fantastic keynote speaker. I would say we have the early bird booking fee on until the end of the school year. It is last couple of years we have sold out, so I would get yourselves booked on as soon as you can possibly. But yes, thank you very much. So with 1 minute to spare, we will draw the session to an end. Huge thank you again to all of our presenters for this afternoon. You will have the slides sent to you, and I will make a recording available on YouTube by the end of the week. But I am more than happy to stay on for a few minutes at the end. I'll stop the recording, and if anyone's got any questions outside of the session, I'll stick around. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your afternoon and evening. Thank you very much, and bye.
Thank you.